Okay, everyone, welcome. Day 187. That's not usually a good day. What is it, the California code for?
Murder.
Murder, okay, yeah. I said 187 and task force immediately said, hey, you know what? Let's not use 187.
That's just because it's a code in my head.
Code
stuck for years.
Yeah, trauma trigger. But I want to say it so that if it does happen, then everybody knows it was 187 after all. Alpha Jallow, you know, we're talking about the Pakistani man of mystery. We're talking about Imran Awan. We know Imran Awan lived up here in New York. We know he was in Capitol Heights, not Capitol Heights, excuse me, Jackson Heights. On his computer, he had a blank resume named Jackson Heights. He also was in Brooklyn. We know he was down in Brooklyn. We also know he was up here meeting with Alpha Jallow on occasion. We'll go into that a little bit later. We're not going to talk too much about that. But what I wanted to talk about was not the arrests, and the task force found several records of Alpha Muhammad Jallow being arrested up here and living not too far away. Also living in Brooklyn. And I remember I had a partner at the time. We were going to go out and visit this lady, the landlady, and he had lived there, and it was kind of a not so great apartment, but yet he was driving a $350,000 Bentley, and he seemed to have new cars every month or so. So the MO was to steal a car in New York City, according to order, and then bring the car to a parking garage, and then they would cool the gang would cool the car for 30 days till it lost its hotness, if you will, and then drive it down to Washington, D.C., and then ship it out of Navy Yard. Believe it or not. So that was the MO. And we believe that there was literally thousands of cars stolen, and he was arrested twice, both in New York and in New Jersey. But the more task force ran across a really interesting, now a lot of people remember Alpha Jallow being down there the night of Seth Rich's disappearance, the tall Nigerian bartender that everybody talks about, the skinny, tall Nigerian bartender. Everybody talks about the night of Seth Rich. Some people say that they saw the tall, skinny Nigerian bartender put Seth Rich into the car. I had a witness say it wasn't at that bar, it was over at Acre 123, which is now closed. So we got a lot of Alpha Jallow around the Capitol. Now you also remember the Capitol gets closed down on the 8th and it gets closed down on the 12th, okay? Now I just want to put a little working theory out here, but, and most people know that the Capitol was closed down originally, I believe, when a staffer goes into the Capitol on the 8th with a handgun. I think if you're a staffer, it'd be interesting to see which staffer that is going back and see if that's one of the 45 conspirators with the nuke berries or not. But, or let's call them ISIS berries. We could call them ISIS berries. That's probably more descriptive because it's drugs in one direction and weapons in the other. And I guess centrifuge is really kind of a sophisticated weapon, if you will, to weaponize uranium, if you will. So let's call them ISIS berries, I guess. So if you have an ISIS berry and you're taking your ISIS berry out of your pocket, you're going into Longworth, and all of a sudden you have a handgun and you're going to put a handgun through the metal detector? Yeah, I think that's Truth Train, Rom. Truth Train, Rom. Truth Train's a coming, Rom. Truth Train. Anyway, that just doesn't seem like, that seems like a cover. That seems like a cover to shut the Capitol down to get the servers out. If you had ISIS servers, let's say you have ISIS berries, not just nuke berries, but you have ISIS berries, because, hey, they ran a $200 million a month drug operation. So to me, that sounds like ISIS berries. It was a Hezbollah operation, drugs in one direction, weapons in the other. That sounds like ISIS berries to me. So that shuts the Capitol down. They get the server out, and then to get the server back in or something, Alpha Jallow has a shootout with the Capitol Police about a mile away from the Capitol. Again, sounds again like a diversion because Alpha Jallow is out on bail now. He's got a bracelet, right? So I'm talking about this with task force at lunch, and she goes, well, how about the July 5th thing? This is before, Seth Rich is murdered right in between, between July 9th and 10th, or disappears or whatever. So we had I focus on 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. The two S-13 guys get killed in South Carolina, North Carolina. But then task force, as she does over and over again, she did this with Thomas Paine the other day. We were talking to Thomas, and he said, we broke that story, about, Andy McCabe and Chappaqua. And I said, well, you might want to check that December 2nd version that we did first thing in the morning about that McCabe address. There's a nice little ship going down the Hudson. So it's like this over and over again with task force. She finds these stuff, and then it depends. I just set the timer and see how long it's going to take for media to catch up. Lisa Barsoomian's yet another one of those things. I can't count how many of those things we're waiting for. There's so many of them. Kind of spinning plates. When will media, I'm going to do that Lionel impression. When will media figure out that these are actually facts, and that when will they check that out? But anyway, this July 5th thing totally throws everything for a loop. Yeah. Now, why don't you describe in as full-throated a voice as you can, because we've got we've got helicopters coming in now. I think they're trying to get Bitcoin out by helicopter.
Or us, but yeah. So I come across this DOJ release that on July 5th, 2016. So picture this: July 5th, 2016 is the day that Comey is giving the.
Wait, just 1 second, Rom. So I got to salute our Homeland Security. Rom? I got the Bitcoin right here. No, come back. Ah, jeez. I'm going to be all over America. Go ahead. Sorry. So let's start over. July 5th.
So July 5th, 2016, if everyone remembers that famous day, is when Comey came out and gave the thing. So
Comey came out and gave the exoneration speech.
Exoneration of Hillary Clinton, the big long speech.
No reasonable prosecutor with this evidence.
So on that same day, the Department of Justice releases an arrest report, basically, that details that a former Army National Guard member, Alpha Jallow, was arrested for attempting to provide material support to ISIL or ISIS. And it kind of goes into how he's Nigerian, and he went back to Nigeria and Nigerian or Sierra Leone in 2015 and hooked up with some ISIS guys.
And Alpha Jallow born in Sierra Leone. I mean, I've posted just do George Webb search on Alpha Jallow, and you'll get all of his documentation, all of his different visas that he's gotten after he's committed crimes and gotten let out of jail again. But go ahead.
So it talks about these FBI informants were involved. They're called confidential human sources. So they were involved in this thing with him as he's trying to set up some plan about. He was listening to a lot of AAAs, Anwar's videotapes.
Key AAAs.
Right,
yep.
AAAs. And he also had this a lot of thoughts about the Fort Hood shooter.
And he was going somewhere for guns, wasn't he?
Right. So
where was he going for
guns? Let's see, in July 15. He was in July of 2015. He said he'd been thinking about conducting an attack similar to November 2009 Fort Hood shooter. And then he goes to.
Excuse us, folks. The Hudson is showering us with water. We had that big tanker in the wake.
So in June of 2016, which would have been 1 month prior to the alleged murder of Seth Rich and all that, he went to North Carolina and made multiple unsuccessful attempts to obtain firearms.
What city in North Carolina? If that would be Vietnam, that would be very interesting to me, or Charlotte. Either one of those two cities would be very... Because I think the resistance movement, as far as the influence movement of special ops, if there is a program called PDD 62, Google it, George Webb, PDD-62. If there is such a thing as an influence op, or what they call civil affairs, it would be run out of Charlotte. Okay? So continue.
So on July 2nd, Jallow went to a gun dealership in Northern Virginia, which is where he's from, and he purchased a assault rifle. Unbeknownst to him, they had kind of disabled it because the FBI informants were involved. And so basically this is kind of an overview of this arrest, and it was handled by the Washington Field Office.
And the publication is heavy?
Yeah, no, this is actually, I'm reading from the actual DOJ
Oh, you're reading DOJ website.
I'm reading the DOJ.
What date is on that DOJ?
It's July 5th, 2016.
Okay, wow.
They talk about taking Alpha Jollo into custody.
DOJ.gov.
Right.
Wow.
Now, Seth Ridge, this thing happened with Seth Ridge 4 days later, right? And then on the 10th, Alpha Jollo was arrested, being part of it was a shootout with the Washington, D.C. police where there was Capitol Police was shut down. So how does Alpha Jollo get arrested for providing material support for ISIS on the 5th, and then he's somehow involved possibly with the Seth Ridge, but we know he's arrested again? How does he get out of jail?
See, now here's my take. Let's suppose you did have ISIS berries and ISIS servers in Congress. And the reason why you have them in Congress is speech and debate. You're protected by speech and debate. So this is your free speech to sell stuff to ISIS, right? So if that's a news story on July the 5th that's coming out, I got an idea. Let's have a different news story. Let's have maybe the Seth Rich news story. Let's maybe have something about us where the DNC could get money sent to us, rather than people saying, hey, I don't like ISIS being run out of the DNC, and I don't like 45 different Democrats carrying ISIS berries. That's a bad idea, right? And that's not a political thing.
Right.
It's just a corruption, right?
Right. And just going back so people really understand, I mean, Alpha Jollo was arrested as part of a huge New Jersey car trafficking ring where they were selling these high-end, or they were shipping these stolen high-end vehicles to Nigeria. Or
True train, Ron. True train. Just want to let you know, every train's another chance, Ron, to tell the truth. Just trying to remind you. Go ahead.
And 21 men, including Alpha Jollo, were taken into custody at that time. Many of the thefts had occurred at gunpoint and just really, really bad things. And all up and down the Operation 17 corridor, it calls it. They're valued at cars stolen, valued at $4 million, taken to West Africa. Talks about Porsches and Lamborghinis and all that kind of stuff. So he's arrested for that. Back
earlier,
yeah,
a whole year earlier in November,
October 29th of 2015, and then somehow he's out of jail and arrested for supporting ISIS on July 5th, and then somehow he's out of jail.
And if people want to look up Alpha Jollo and Lachine, the address Lachine and Manitoba, we'll show you how they lived in the same apartment as Imran Awan and all the other Awan folks. So you may not think this is guns and drugs to ISIS, but it is guns and drugs to ISIS. I don't know how else to say it. It's going to be Operation Cassandra. And I think the reason that CrowdStrike goes into the DNC and goes in and cleans everything, and they clean everything at Congress, is because Imran Awan's coming and going in both places. So it's just a clean up on IL-7. We cannot have this going into the election. Let's just cool it with the ISIS stuff till the election's over, and then we'll ramp it up again after we get going. And I think that's actually what happened. I mean, the only reason you would shut down the Capitol twice and come up with these cockamamie shootouts where people don't get arrested, and oh, by the way, our friend lives about a mile away from us now. In Maryland, the person that hit the woman in the lobby matches his description identically.
He could come do an on-camera interview and explain what happened.
Well, I think we've already had a brush. I mean, who knows? The interesting thing is PG County never published this guy's name that hit the girl. And we saw the film of the brutal beating of the girl, and then he beat up two other guys. He had military training. I mean, the two guys we saw, the two track coaches, they were big. Yes. They weren't little guys.
And he beat the hell out of them.
I mean, the one guy's face
broke both sockets in his eyes.
Orbits of the eyes, and broke his nose and everything. I don't know. I think there was a little mill training. He goes, that's the hardest I talked to the guy afterward. He said, that's the hardest I've ever been hit in my life. Yeah. So, we don't know. Alpha Jollo, we love you to death. We'd love to do a live interview. We're going to wait here a little bit longer. Come on down. We
would prefer you come alone, not with some buddies, but if you want to come out.
Well, actually, that's good metadata. Yeah. That's actually good metadata.
Right.
Actually, I think he's in Maryland. You looked him up. He's about a mile actually away from where we are.
Yeah.
So we're going to go back and see if we can get that interview.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is an interesting one. The DOJ has Alpha Jallow.
DOJ has
Alpha Muhammad Jallow
arrested on
the
July 5th.
In D.C.
Yes.
In D.C. Wow.
Right.
Unbelievable. Okay, well, there it is, folks. Anything you want to add to that?
No, it's just mind-blowing when I've read all these things.
Well, how would you miss that? I mean, how would the press miss that?
How would the press miss that, and how is he out and then arrested again on the 10th? The only people that could get somebody out like that for a crime like that, I mean, you cannot get out of jail for a crime. You can't bail out of a crime of trying to assist ISIS with weapons. It's a no-bail thing. I mean, I don't even have to be at the hearing to know that's a no-bail thing.
If you meet an informant late at night that the FBI set you up to meet, that you don't get no bail there. No, that's
right.
6 months minimum. But this, you seem to get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to do my Mark Stein Taka. You get out. You get out. Like you're getting a parking ticket. Taka.
Taka should look into Alpha Jallow because Taka.
Yeah, Taka. You need to look into Alpha Jallow. Anyway, good segment. Thank you. Another one of these finds, these diamonds that task force finds, and then eventually, alternative media picks it up. Alternative media picked up the Lisa Barsunian thing.
Yeah.
With you. You had with
Rod
Rosenstein, the shot blocker.
Months and months and months and months ago.
That was about 4 months ago, but they eventually picked it up.
Yeah.
Who else picked it up? Who else picked up other than
Alex? I don't know. No mainstream media has.
No mainstream media.
They would never mention that in God's green earth. But I think. I don't
but what if Trump said it? What if Trump said it? Because he said Pakistani mystery man now.
Yeah, he might want to talk about the FOIA shot blocker named Lisa Barsunian, who is married to Rod Rosenstein, who was Bill Clinton's attorney while Rod Rosenstein was on the independent counsel prosecuting Bill Clinton.
Right.
Somebody might want to look into the conflict of interest.
It would be like the personal attorney of Bill Clinton, and I'm not going to say anything there, but the personal attorney of Bill Clinton's going after you. It's not like somebody who's like even remotely impartial. I mean, this is like Chris Gowan, being in charge of me, and my prosecution for, reporting the story. I think I know how that's going to end.
And to me, just knowing the law system, you can't have a wife representing Bill Clinton. I mean, he's the president of the United States, but in any case, and then the husband's on the opposing counsel, the independent counsel.
And somebody said they'd wiped her cases. They'd cleaned her cases.
We actually have all her cases.
I know we have a screenshot of all of her cases.
No, we've got actually all her cases.
You got all of her cases.
So no worries about that. But many, many cases, CIA, FBI, DOJ, Bill Clinton, and other government organizations. So, it's mind-blowing that these conflict of interest, that no one's talking about this. Yeah.
So that's just the Lisa Barsunian thing, being Rod Rosenstein's wife. But this one, DOJ.gov. Yeah. This is kind of like when we found the 99-page, and I wasn't the first person, but I was kind of the first person to publicize the 99-page document where the GCHQ guys were sitting at Fort Meade actually doing deep dives like they were, doing party dip, just to have all you want, I'll get you another bag. I mean, they were just going through no warrant, anything whatsoever. And now Mr. Brennan's going to have to answer for his warrant against Papadopoulos, the warrant from nowhere. Right. And now Devin Nunes has made Five Eyes. Now people know what Five Eyes is. They know I wasn't kidding about Five Eyes. Right. So that's coming. Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up here. Hopefully no 187s yet. Drum? One more chance on the truth chain.
American made right there, maybe.
Hopefully, yeah. One more chance on the truth train, Ram. Sorry. Yom. I wanted to say Yom Kippur.